Cool, well, thank you for joining today. It's myself, so my name's Rachel, I'm from Young Scot, and then I'm a co-design officer, so I support young people directly through kind of our workshop programme, through working with partners, and sort of developing our co-design service with young people, so bringing partners and young people together. And I'll hand over to Katie to introduce herself.
Sorry, hi everyone, I'm Katie and I am a digital content assistant at Young Scot. So I work on our content development for a few of our campaigns, including our cyber campaign.
So today we're going to cover a few things. So I'm going to speak about our kind of co-design process and how we engage with our Young Scot volunteers, and then how we do that with our cyber resilience offer. Then I'm also going to introduce you to the DigiKnow award program. So it's a real kind of like potential opportunity for you and young people to get involved in if you are thinking that you want to develop young people's skills a little bit more and have something maybe to accredit them in this area. Then I'll talk you through our offer there. And then we'll hand over to Katie and she'll speak a bit about creating digital content and particularly engaging content in reference to cyber resilience. So I'm going to share my screen. There'll be opportunity for a little bit of discussion throughout as well. And if there's time, maybe a little kind of Mentee activity where we'll get you to use your phones and take part in a little Mentee sort of quiz, little bit of an activity. Okay, so some of you might be more familiar with us as a charity, as an organisation than others. We have sort of three sort of main areas that we work with young people. So we've got our rewards and discounts, our membership. So that comes on, you might be familiar with the Young Scot card. That might be the thing that you identify us by. So that's one of the things that we give to young people, is sort of connecting them to opportunities, connecting them to discounts, providing them with, I guess, some support to help with their lives. And then we've got our content and digital offer, so providing engaging and relevant content and information on a whole range of subjects. And then our third offer is our YS Hive. So that's about bringing young people and partner organisations together to make a change in a certain topic or policy area. So we work in a variety of different kind of topics with a variety of different organisations. So we work with National Museum of Scotland, we work with the government in quite a lot of things. We work with mental health organisations, lots and lots of different areas affecting young people's lives. So I'm going to speak a little bit about this process and then how we've applied it to cyber resilience. So our YS Hive volunteer offer is about empowering young people to be system changers, to collaborate with decision makers and organisations to share that power. So it's really about saying, you as young people know your online lives better than we do. How can we create a system or make a change in an area to support the kind of best outcome for your life? So we really do try and, I guess, create a foundation that young people and decision makers are working in a collaborative way to push forward that co-design. So we really make sure that young people are at the heart of leading the projects, and the organisations and the decision makers can be part of that, and it is that collaborative process. We work through this 4-stage process. So the first thing that we do with our volunteers is help them to understand the landscape that they're working in. So getting them to sort of probe problems and question the big picture. So this would be where sort of skills development experts would come in and maybe speak about the topic area. So in reference to cyber resilience, we might have some industry experts come in. We might look to develop their kind of practical cyber resilience skills, find out what cyber resilience means to begin with, and then sort of tap into maybe any research, share some data, studies, statistics with them, just to really build their knowledge of the area so that they can start to become a little bit kind of more expert in the wider context. Then we move on to the create stage of the process. So this is where they start to develop solutions and come up with ideas to the problem at hand. So With the cyber resilience sort of frame in mind, we might here start to look at what is the problem that young people face with their cyber resilience online, what are the problems, and then start to develop solutions. So how can we support young people to engage in cyber resilience? How can we support them to be safer online? This is a kind of questions and tasks that we might put to the young people at this stage. And then the disrupt stage. So it's about sort of consolidating all of the work that they've done, all of the ideas development, and then going out to test that. So we usually do that with some sort of events where we bring other young people and decision makers together, maybe in a room, maybe over a screen, and they start to share their ideas and solutions that they came up with to see, is this a good idea? Is this going to work? Is this going to make sense to young people? Are they going to be excited about this solution that we've developed? And then finally, act. So it's really important to us that young people have the opportunity to kind of take action with their ideas, and that there's an opportunity to showcase the change being implemented. So sometimes that means the implementation happens with the young people. So that might mean that their idea comes into fruition and they get to see that happening and they get to be part of that. Sometimes that means passing on recommendations to the decision makers, and then maybe following the process after of what change takes place. So that system change might be quicker in some cases than in others. So just to put into context in terms of what the group who are focusing on cyber resilience at Young Scot, what kind of process they've went through to get to the point that they're at. So the group, they're not all the same. Some have been working on it for many years with us, and some young people have changed throughout that process. But we have had young people taking the lead on cyber resilience since 2018 with us. So their ideas, experiences, and insight have helped shape the programme. So it really is a programme that has the young people at the core who have led on this and developed solutions and then started to implement them. So that's how we hope that the programme itself can be engaging for other young people, because it really is developed and defined by them. So the kind of main outputs from the young people working through this process: during the first phase, young people developed and delivered national events. So they took out their the kind of cyber resilience interactive activities to different groups of young people across Scotland, primarily of school age. They engaged them with things like cyber themed escape rooms, password hacking games, all very interactive and not academic. So it was really about taking the learning outside of a classroom field, but making it really realistic to their kind of online digital lives. And there is a lot of kind of interesting and dynamic things to be done in a cyber resilience sphere. So the young people wanted to showcase that and didn't want it to feel like they were in a school classroom. So anyone that attended those events achieved a level 3 certificate. And from that, the feedback was really positive. It was great to have some sort of accreditation and certification for the work that they put in. So from all that learning that they got from the national events, the young person steering group, they then developed a award programme. So at the moment, we're continuing to deliver that, and it's been developed by them, and they've came up with 6 outcomes that they define as quite important for other young people to learn about. So I'll speak a little bit more about these in a second, but we have 6 areas. So practical cyber resilience, so thinking about your security and your passwords and anything sort of practical that you can do for your devices and for yourself to stay safe. Digital footprint, so thinking about the data that you share online, thinking about maybe your social media use and what you're sharing, thinking about how data can impact you potentially in the future as well. Online rights, so there's a lot of work that's been done by an organisation called the 5 Rights Foundation. So we tap into some of that here. We encourage young people to start thinking about the rights that they have offline and applying them to an online space. Health and wellbeing online, so we're going to touch a little bit on some wellbeing stuff in a little second. So thinking about their digital use, thinking about how it might affect them in a positive or negative way, and really giving them, this isn't about saying what's right or wrong, this is about finding out what's healthy for you in a kind of online space and what's healthy for your well-being. Doing some careers and skills development, so thinking about the digital and cyber skills you're going to need in all careers, and going a little bit deeper and sort of showcasing the width and variety of different careers in cyber and tech. And then finally, what's really important to us is to continue this peer-to-peer learning, to continue young people being at the heart of leading these conversations. So the final element of achieving the award is sharing and something that they've learned with another young person or group of young people. So we really are trying to embed the cyber resilience learning from peer to peer, so that it's not just us as adults having those conversations. It's about instilling that within the kind of voices of young people. So we had hoped that a couple of our volunteers could be here, just the time of day. The young people have school and college and things like that. Unfortunately, they couldn't, but we do have some insights from them. So we've been working a little bit at the moment around online wellbeing with the group. So during the last session, we put out some questions to them to bring to you today. So all of this is from the young person group, but unfortunately they're not here to sort of lead this themselves. So in terms of online wellbeing, we asked them what are the things that are kind of most present for their wellbeing online at the moment? What kind of things are they talking about, or are they worried about? So I thought I'd ask you first what you think that might be, or what you're hearing from your young people, and then I'll show you what our young people fed back to us. So if anyone wants to come in or pop in the chat, or just kind of take yourself off mute, what are the things particularly around online wellbeing and digital use are young people kind of saying to you at the moment, or what do you think's priority at the moment? Can I just check? Sorry, I've just seen in the chat. Can you see this presentation?
Yeah, I can see it. Okay, I think it was just one of the participants was having issues viewing it, but it's all good.
Okay, sorry, I was worried I went through the whole thing there.
No, it looks great.
Oh, thank you. So bullying, abuse, yep. Social media, pressures, body image, prompting regular breaks, screen usage, catfishing, fake news, yep. Yeah, okay. Grooming. Okay, so yes, lots of different things. Online abuse, negative self-image, pornography, being able to distinguish between real life and forensics. Okay, great, lots of good things here. I can actually add it to the screen, but I'm going to download the chat and just capture some of this because it's quite useful for us to know what's coming up for other young people and for young people that you work with. Anything else? Anyone else want to add anything before I showcase what young people are saying to us? Okay, I think, you know, most of what you've said is pretty spot on. So body image was the kind of first and biggest area, and I think a few people in the chat spoke about that. So, you know, the way that they're viewing themselves, and also the representation, I guess, of other people over the screen, and how that's influencing their own body image. Everyday well-being came up quite a bit, so just the kind of unmotivated, sluggish, feeling tired way that you might kind of feel after sitting online all day. Also, an important one I think to mention is not always seeing the link between tech use and mental health. So maybe you are experiencing some of these things, but not necessarily relating that to your kind of digital use. It might sometimes not be obvious that that's what you're feeling. So I think the young people, you know, brought up that sometimes it's, you know, there might be young people who are better to kind of critically analyze their online use, and it might be easier for them to detach and have a sense of understanding why they're feeling a certain way, but a lot of the time that might not be obvious, so just bearing that in mind. Anxiety and addiction patterns, that came up as well in the chat. So the group were speaking a lot about that kind of need or feeling that you want to be around your phone, or you're missing something if you're not with it. Technology use and persuasive design, so thinking about how apps or websites that you use are actually there to be prompting you sometimes to use it more. So I guess that's something that can induce anxiety as well, that feeling that you are sort of getting rewarded for something, but then when you're not around it, you're kind of feeling lost without it. Influencing and opinion forming, so I think there was some chat around fake news, they spoke a little bit about how it can be quite difficult to maybe form your own opinions. So sort of questioning your own judgment, questioning if what you see online is right, and the influence that peers have in that space. So I think lots of interesting stuff. I particularly, found it quite interesting, the kind of chat around the addiction patterns that young people were facing, and I think that link between what Ali was saying there about the kind of the gambling presentation came through quite strongly. So we then asked how can adults or professionals support you in this area? So what kind of things should you be doing from a young person's perspective? What kind of things don't they want us to be doing? So some really interesting feedback here. So it would be maybe good just to put that over to you again. What kind of things do you think young people need from us in this area? Okay, so non-judgmental approach, listening, yep, not preaching. Be non-judgmental again, yep, learning, some own kind of skills building and learning in your own time. Having a voice, reassurance about boundaries. Making it clear and simple, easy to access information that we're sharing. Great. Okay, so I think the one that came through strongest there was around the kind of non-judgmental and listening approach, and I think that's what young people were, I guess, really trying to get clear to us was it's a topic area. It's cyber resilience. It's about being online, and even if you don't have the skills and expertise in that area, you have the expertise as a youth worker, as a professional. So do what you continue to do in this space. So open statements, and don't guess or assume that you know what the problem is. So I thought this was a really good one that the young people were talking about, that you might have a sense, but maybe don't jump in first. Give them the opportunity to bring that to you. Like you've all said, that kind of safe space and creating a kind of trusting relationship with the young person. They also spoke about if you do think there's potentially something risky going on, or you've maybe seen some signs, maybe a way to, as a first kind of point to touch on with that, would be to invite them to show you what they're doing online. So make it quite soft to begin with, quite casual. Maybe you frame it as, I just kind of want to build my own skills and get a sense of maybe how I can be building my own skills a little bit more. So I think that was quite a useful way to sort of bring that conversation to light in the beginning. Young people's online lives are their lives, so sensitivity is key. Again, I think you've all touched on that around the non-judgmental approach, empathy, no judgment. And then they also spoke about removing access to social media or tech can be counterintuitive. So for a lot of young people, this is a bit of a lifeline. They also spoke about if there are maybe dangerous behaviours that are happening, it's part of young people's lives being online, so that if you remove that sort of lifeline, there might be sort of other consequences to that that can come out in other ways. So it's not necessarily best to cut off completely. Would anyone have anything to add there, just in terms of how they've dealt with conversations around this in their own experience? Would you have any other tips or guidance that we could add in here? Okay, I will move on then. But if anything comes to you, just pop it in the chat. So, like I said, we have an offer at the moment, our DigiKnow award, where we provide young people the opportunity to build their skills, develop their knowledge, take part in kind of interactive activities, and fundamentally, they also get a award certificate. So they get accredited with a SCQF level 4. So I guess the equivalent of a national 4. with 4 credit points attached. So it's been rated for 40 hours of learning, but I would say from delivering the program recently, I'd say it's more around 20, maybe 25 hours. So it's actually a bit less of a time commitment than the 4 credits might show. So we've been working with Glasgow College to deliver this. So all of the content is online, all the assessments are accessed online as well. This means that it can be kind of delivered in a self-guided fashion. Also means that the young people do have a little bit of the independence of learning, particularly just now where the hybrid sort of model of engaging face-to-face, potentially still a lot of online engagement, hopefully would make this a little bit easier. It can be done you know, in their own time, and you can provide some check-ins as well. So we hope that the self-guided approach just now can actually be a positive to help delivery of this, even if we are working online. And it's open to any learner, whether in a learning environment, formal or non-formal. They will have to enroll as a kind of student through the college. So if you are interested, we'll speak a bit more about how you would get involved in that, but they will become a student of Glasgow College, and then tutors will be supporting them, giving them feedback throughout the course, and then myself will also be able to be on hand to sort of provide some prompts and guidance as well throughout the course. So we have 6 different topic areas. So each topic area is an outcome in the award. The first 3 topics make up Unit 1. The second 3 topics make up Unit 2. So they will receive a certificate after they've completed the first 3 and also after they completed the second. So if a learner doesn't have as much time, or potentially, they might want to, stagger their learning a little bit, then they'll be provided with accreditations for both. Just to sort of highlight, the first unit is around building their knowledge, building their skills, and then the second one is more applying it. So there's a little bit more self-reflection, critical analysing skills, and also asking them to sort of share their learning. So that might be in the form of a peer session, it might be creating a slideshow, just something that they can do to showcase that they've had an opportunity to share what they've learned with others. So as an ambassador, we're looking for we're looking for anyone that works with young people to help us deliver this award programme. So we've been working with teachers, with youth workers, with some police liaison officers in schools to be delivering this. So we really see it as an opportunity for ambassadors such as yourself to give a little bit of help and guidance to young people to move them through this award, so that then they can support other young people to develop skills and learning as well. So that kind of cascading of learning is what we're really hopeful to see here. So you don't need any kind of prior knowledge in this area. We will provide the support. We do provide some ambassador training sessions to give you all the information that you need. We also are trialing different ways of engaging, so doing sort of drop-in sessions every few weeks, aligning with a content area, providing, that could be for you, that could be for young people, providing a little bit more context and some activities in that area, so that we take some of the content a little bit offline and off paper, so that it maybe makes it a little bit kind of more engaging and interesting if it's not just all on the computer. So we can be adaptable in our approach. If you are interested and you see it running in a certain way in your area, then we can work with you on that. So I'm just going to check time. We do have a little activity that I wanted to get involved in, but I think I'm going to hand over to Katie first, just so that she gets her bit in. And if we do have time, then we can run through the activity at the end.
Hi everyone, I'm Katie. As I said before, content assistant at Young Scot. So I work on the content development on a lot of our campaigns, including our cyber campaign, which is also known as DigiKnow. So I work on a lot of the sessions with our DigiKnow panel, which is a group of young volunteers with Rachel, to get sort of like ideas and feedback on our content that they want to see. So I thought I would just start with a brief kind of overview of how Young Scot kind of uses and produces content and what platforms we use to deliver certain messages. So our main objective is to provide unbiased and factually correct information that matters to young people. We do this through our website, which is young.scot, as well as our social media channels, which are Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, and YouTube. So we create kind of specific content for each platform. Before I go on, I just wanted to ask the group, I know maybe you don't specifically create a lot of content, but do you use any of these platforms? And what kind of content do you think works best or doesn't perform as well for you? So I don't know if you just want to pop it in the chat or even just shout out. Yeah, videos and pictures, definitely. Yeah, Facebook, yeah, definitely works well for engaging with parents. That's where I think our main sort of audience is, on Facebook. Yep, Cordy, we use TikTok, and we obviously do spend a wee bit of time creating videos, but I'm going to talk about maybe how you don't need to spend as much time making videos for TikTok. We've never used Twitch, that's interesting. Cool, so yep, Facebook. Cool, so I think we're going to cover the majority of these, just kind of briefly talking about what content we find works best for us, or sort of that we've heard that works better. So the first one that we use is Instagram. This is our main sort of platform. We put a lot of our information on here. So we use the post and stories function really regularly. And we have just started to create more Reels content because we've had a lot of feedback from young people that they like that sort of shorter format video, especially when it's like giving information over to them. So with posts, we normally stick to infographics that are quite text heavy. And for stories, we'll usually post more sort of like topical information or use it to update on our weekly content and campaigns. And now that we're branching out into Reels a wee bit more, we're trying to be a bit more reactive with that and look at trends, because this was something else highlighted in the feedback from some of our young volunteers. So then there's TikTok, which I don't think we really anticipated how popular it would have become over the past couple of years, but our following has been sort of growing steadily on this platform. And it's an area along with Reels that we really want to grow in the future. So from the sort of experience and feedback that we've had from TikTok, the content that performs best for us features young people, or our Gaelic content as well performs really well. So I think from this, we're trying to be a bit more reactive, try and get our young people involved in videos as well. Because we've found that the videos, or the sort of more static images and graphics with information on them, aren't as effective on TikTok. I think it is definitely much more videos-based content. So then with Facebook, as I said before, I think a lot of our engagement here is through parents and caregivers to young people. And I think especially the layout of Facebook, it doesn't really lend itself to image carousels like Instagram. So we do tend to post maybe more sort of like a classic style landscape video here, or links to important updates. So we've posted a lot recently about COVID rules and our under 22s bus scheme, because this is quite important to the sort of parents and caregivers of young people. And then YouTube, we don't use YouTube as much as we previously have, but we do find that if we have longer sort of format videos, so things like interviews and tutorials or sort of in-depth information, this is usually where it does best. So over the pandemic, or over lockdown, we posted a lot of information around COVID and mental health and well-being. So that performed really well there. And we also, if we have partnerships with experts in mindfulness, or someone speaking about a topic that they're an expert in, we often have them create longer videos, which we then sort of repurpose by editing them down into more manageable chunks for platforms like Instagram and TikTok. And then finally, the last thing we kind of consider when we're making more general content is that it's accurate. We hold a European quality label, And we have a system in place so that anything we post is fact checked by multiple people. So a sort of standard practice at Young Scot is that we have 3 reliable sources if we're posting any kind of information. And in terms of accessibility, we want as many people as possible to be able to access and engage with our content. So the whole digital information team that I work on have gone through accessibility training. We try to use the most accessible language as possible, make sure the formatting is readable, and we add alt text and captions to all our posts as well. So in terms of DigiKnow content, we have our homepage on our website, so that's what you can see here, which delivers information, learning opportunities, career information, and competitions for young people to get involved in. So the homepage is made up of articles and external links to sort of like partnership organizations. The content on our website isn't necessarily directly linked to the content on social media, but we do, as I said, we share some articles to our Facebook, or sometimes we'll duplicate the information on posts if it's particularly relevant to what we're posting about. So for example, we've got articles on what to do if you get hacked, or how to shop online safely, which we based some of our social media content on at the end of last year. And I just thought I'd touch on as well, we post content. We normally have a weekly theme, which we find works really well for us. It kind of helps our content flow a bit better, and it also means that at the end of each week, we can gather kind of feedback from young people. We usually do it on Instagram. We'll post a story asking, how did you find this content? What did you find worked well? What did you think didn't work as well? Which is a really great kind of sounding board for us, like developing content. So then our DigiKnow panel, who meet monthly, we discuss sort of upcoming opportunities, campaigns and content, which is a really great chance for us to kind of get their thoughts on our content, things that they liked, what things they think didn't go so well, and also kind of informing the upcoming content. So a good example of this, we recently had a DigiKnow campaign which ran over Christmas. And the digital information team, which I work on, came up with 3 advert concepts. So then we took them to the DigiKnow panel and presented them to them. And we got them to kind of take the ideas, develop them a bit further, give their sort of honest feedback on them, and then finally had them vote on which concept they liked best. So this was really good for us to get feedback from our target audience before we ran the ads, and it also gave the panel a chance to be involved in the content and kind of feel a bit like a kind of reward for them that their input had been taken on board. So the feedback that we have had from the panel has given us a few sort of like key lessons that we want to run with. So the main things are that young people want to see young people like them in our content. They want to see people with real life problems that they can relate to. This was feedback in relation to our hacking campaign, but I think it does influence a lot of our other content as well. The group sort of commented that they would be more likely to engage with the content and seek out information if they could see themselves in the situation presented and kind of empathize with it. I don't know if it'll be surprising to anyone, but they want short format videos on Instagram, TikTok, and they also mentioned YouTube Shorts, which we haven't really looked into that much, but I think we might be possibly looking into a bit more. But we have also seen sort of video information from TikTok saying that videos between 20 to 35 seconds are the most successful. So we've taken that on board and we try to keep the majority of our video content under 30 seconds. They also want the content to look organic and be quite trends based. So one of the bits of feedback was that the young people found videos of people acting quite cringy. So we were speaking about that. We also spoke in depth about trends, and if we want to create content using trending sounds or ideas, we need to act quickly because young people can start to feel a bit oversaturated with trends and just tend to scroll past them if they've been seeing it for too long. And finally, they also wanted to be able to identify specific campaigns easily. So they stressed that we should have a strong brand image and theme throughout a campaign. And this kind of feeds back into our accessibility as well, because we were talking about how it would make it easier for them to navigate our website if we had a strong sort of brand identity running through our campaigns. So our content since then, we've tried to implement this feedback, and there's just a few examples here. So we've had some of our volunteers create short videos sharing their top sort of cyber tips, which we shared onto TikTok, and they were really effective and just very short kind of videos, which worked well. I think what we kind of realized from this was that the content on TikTok doesn't really need to be polished. It's quite easy to sort of grab a phone or ask one of our volunteers to grab a phone and film just like a quick video talking about how they stay safe online, and then post it straight away. It doesn't take a lot of editing. And I think sometimes videos like that on TikTok especially can perform better than something that's been like highly edited and looks really polished. And then also we've got some images on this slide with our Instagram content. So we've worked to kind of create a strong theme for DigiKnow. We've picked out like a color palette. We've tried to use a similar design for all of our sort of content. We've started using this little like white box in the middle of the tile, which kind of creates a focal point for the images, but also means for accessibility that the text has like a contrasting background, so it's much more readable. So this is, I touched on it earlier, but this is our DigiKnow campaign that ran over Christmas this year. And I thought it was kind of a good way to summarize how working with young people and getting their feedback has positively impacted our content. So this was a paid campaign that ran from December to January, and the content was developed in collaboration with the DigiKnow panel. And we ran with a theme which was good hacks versus bad hacks. So basically the idea was you took the idea of like a life hack, which we've all seen on social media, sort of like the 5-minute craft videos, and we linked it to the issue of cyber hacking. So we created 3 videos on this concept, which I think were 30 seconds long, and they were pushed in a paid campaign on Instagram and TikTok. So we ran a survey, obviously, after the adverts had finished, and we got really good feedback from them. And it was a high number of young people agreed that they felt more informed as a result of seeing the content, and as a result of seeing the adverts that we ran, they would know what to do if they got hacked, which was really great feedback. It was the main point of the campaign, was kind of taking people through the steps of what to do if they got hacked. So our marketing department obviously fed back that they felt like the strength of the video content really contributed to the success, which was great to obviously then feedback to the group because they had contributed to this as well. So I don't know what we're like for time. I've got 2 of the ads. They are only 30 seconds long. I can play one and hopefully I shared my sound. I don't know if anyone.
Time. It's fine.
Are we all right? Okay. If I press play, Rachel, can you just give me a thumbs up if you can hear this?
Yep.
We've all spent time scrolling and learning new life hacks over the past few months. Some have been more useful than others. But did you know you could be targeted in a different kind of hack? Always use strong and different passwords, store them in a password manager, and use 2-factor authentication where possible. Visit young.scot/didyouknow for more information.
Yep, so that was one of the ads that ran. I won't bother showing you the other one. It's very similar, just with different hacks, which I got to learn to make the videos, which was very exciting for me. But that is all from me. I don't know if anyone has any sort of content specific questions that they're wanting to pop in the chat that I might be able to answer. Rob, I see.
Rob,
yeah. So we have a digital consent form, and I think the majority of our volunteers also sign a consent form when they join any of the sort of opportunities. Is that right, Rachel?
Yes, so as part of being on a project, we asked them to sign a consent form. and tick a box about photo permissions. And then obviously anytime we're doing anything in a session, during a session, we'll just get their verbal permission, but we have their written permission for the course of the project. Age limit wise, so our volunteers are from 11 to 25. So that covers, yeah. So under 16s, we have to take parental consent from them. So we require a signature from their parents, or an email from their parents, or a phone call with their parents to get the parent or guardian signature if they're under 16. So we'll have got that for anyone under 16. Great. Okay, can you get the parent or guardian consent for that under 18s? Okay. Yeah, that's a challenge then for having them involved in content. Okay. And it varies, doesn't it, between local authority? Yeah. Were you going to say something, Katie?
No, I was just going to say that is all from me, if that's the questions.
Great. And I know, so Rob, I don't know how much involvement you have with Young Scot, but we work with different local authorities, so our local authority managers can support with some of the content development. So there might be opportunity if you're struggling with the young people that you work with, there could be opportunity for Young Scot to be supporting some of that. So we have our local pages on young.scot. So if it's something that you want to have a chat with our local authority managers about, they definitely help with the supporting of like local content directed at young people. So we could put you in touch with them if that sounds interesting. Cool. Yeah, Katie, would you say anything to comment from Victoria?
I think, yeah, we have had maybe ads where obviously more recently it's been very hard like meeting up with young people to film any content anyway. So sometimes if it is like myself or like someone else on the team filming the content and we don't want to have our faces in it, it's just kind of coming up with ways to be like a bit creative about it.
Yeah, so I know that some of the DigiKnow volunteers haven't necessarily always wanted to be forthcoming with being in it, but they have, whether it's like their hands or they've created the content with like voiceovers and like moving images. Great, thank you. Questions? We just got a thank you there from George.
Oh, thanks, George.
And we'll send the slides, I think, will be sent to you. So I know Katie gave a lot of good tips there. So that will be sent out to you in case you didn't get to write it down or anything.
Rob, I just seen your question there. I mean, it's pretty neutral, to be fair. I think no one seems to really pick up on it if it's Young Scot staff in the videos either. So I think we've gotten away with it so far.
Yeah, because I think the benefit of having like young people work in our organisation helps us there.
Yeah,
we could kind of have them in content and it still be relevant for young people. So I'm just going to pop in some contact details in the chat. So if you are thinking about maybe creating local content or want a little bit more support of that, I'll pop in our local authority manager's email. And then if you're at all interested in having a conversation about the DigiKnow Award and getting some young people involved in developing their own skills, I'll pop in the email address for that as well. Cool, there you go. And if they're looking for any content information, Katie, can you pop both up your email down?